Howdy, who would have thunk I'm in Croatia, first time Zagreb, with my good friend Luca over here in front of a bank vault. Very prophetic, okay? Because all of the information you're about to hear on this podcast could be the equivalent of what you might find in a modern vault. But some cigars and drinks may come out, so who knows? Could get a little bit dicey. Might get explicit, so don't have this play around your kids. And then Tony, who I just met here today, but many of you know, and if you don't know, he probably is the reason why many of the folks you see running ads are even in existence, because their operations are so dialed in. He is the ops king, or rather part of the feudal, the fiefdom of operations, okay? And we're gonna talk about some interesting stuff that might make you more money, might make you cry, might make you divorce your failed relationship so you can go find a better one. I don't know, but stay tuned and let's make the discovery together.
Blake, if you want to give people, you're probably going to do a better job introducing yourself than me and Luke could ever do. So Blake Toves, all I know about you, I think, did you have like a Facebook group way back in the day?
Yeah.
I think that's where I originally...
2017.
Yeah. I was 17 at the time, barely conscious. I remember being in that Facebook group. That's where we met a couple of our people we know together, our acquaintances. But give people introduction. I think you're going to do a way better job than me and Luca can. Your career, although you're not very old, has been lasting for a while now. So you've done a lot of cool stuff. Give people a warm introduction.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Facebook groups. It's like one of the best ways that you can meet people. I mean, these days it's comment sections, it's on X, it's on Instagram. And that's where I started to gain some more like confidence in doing what I'm doing, because people would just ask for the most basic advice, and I would just make Loom videos, go live, teach them on it. And now most of the folks that are in that Facebook group, that was 8 years ago. And now they've built massive companies, or they're a part of massive companies, and they've like, it's just really cool to see how far people have come. And even just in a short period of time, it doesn't take 8 years to do that. You can make a lot of shit happen like within a year or 2 years. I mean, a year into digital marketing, I was at Tai Lopez's mansion teaching him about chatbots to his team. And I'm like, why am I even here? You know, what was like a little imposter syndrome going on, you know, not feeling deserved, because I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up where I was taught business conventionally by my family or any kind of wealth triggers, as Dan Locke likes to call it. There wasn't Rolls Royces going down. The biggest car that would roll down would be like an F-150 truck and be blasting through it some, country song, because, that's what we did in Oklahoma, right? And so that's kind of a little background with the roots. Red Dirt Road, where I'm from, small town of, I'd say 5,000 people where I was born. And I've tried to reverse engineer, okay, if somebody comes from a small town versus somebody coming from a big city, what's the likelihood of they have of success and stability and all that? And it's kind of like across the board. It's just, I guess I'm more of like lucky than I've been. Like I'm skilled, but I feel like I'm also just as lucky, because my circumstances, having a mother at 15, father at 14, bring me into this world, many would consider that kind of unlucky, because you got to start with zero financial resources, pretty much, like food stamps. But I do consider myself lucky in the amount of love that I got from all my family. So even though money was tight, they all were just harmonious, to as much as any family could be. And it was really only up from there. So as you just get new levels, it felt like a game. In the education system, getting kicked out of school because I would make paper guns. I'd get these YouTube tutorials, these old ones, and I'd get just a stack of copy paper. And next thing you know, I'd turn that into a full-scale M16 that would shoot these little darts. And I'd bring that to school, and I thought, hey, that's cool. And this is, 2014, 13, around that time. You get kicked out for that sort of thing, amongst other sorts of crap that the education system puts down your throat and you kind of reject. This authoritarianism. I just really took a punk rock approach, like, no, fuck you. I don't want to learn what you're telling me. So I didn't do well in school. I just really wanted to do a military path. I'm like, yeah, let's go do the best of the best, be special forces. Then I found out you had to have a good GPA to do that. So because you don't have a good GPA, you're like, all right, let's go to...
What was your GPAs?
instead. It was like 2.7.
Out of what?
Yeah.
4?
2.7 out of 4.
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the minimum criteria for what I wanted to do was like 3.
Like you didn't want to learn, or you didn't see the point of it, or you see that the future is elsewhere. Why you were at that age? Do you
I thought that the
things or
teachers
not
were
yet?
incompetent. Oklahoma is ranked number 48, I think, in the worst public education systems. And also there's just a lot of trauma growing up. And it's a small town. You know, I moved to a bigger one, 50,000 people. But there was so much bullshit going on. Like there was this kid who took his life in the middle of everybody in 8th grade, junior high. All the kids running out of the school. Like what was that? They thought there was a school shooting. But no, he just took his life in front of everybody. So that kind of like, it didn't fuck me up, but it fucked up a lot of my peripheral friend group. Some turned that pain into power. Some just became totally emo. And so it had me really think deeply about human psychology. What would cause somebody to have such a change in mind that they would want to take their life? And it's not like they were even bullied too hardcore. This kid was not bullied hardcore at all. I don't know his full circumstances, but that is like the first major event that led me to say, why do people make significant life-altering decisions like that? What leads up to it? And that question and curiosity led me down like a rabbit hole of personal development, psychology, YouTube channels, which I guess explains why I'm really good at marketing, because it was kind of life or death situations. Like, oh, is there going to be somebody else that's going to want to kill himself as a result of this? Because that's usually the case. You know, you have this, it's kind of viral, you know, there's like a mass psychology element to whenever kids start to either self-harm, kill themselves, or have teen pregnancy, other kids tend to do it. So I just wanted to learn quite a bit about that. And I think that equipped me quite well getting into the business world and shift away from the dark part. Like they're just seeing the different paths that kids decided on, you know, some being heavy drug users and just getting into lots of trouble, some joining like student organizations and going on to just study even harder so they can get out of this, you know, backwater town. It had me make the same like crossroads decision, and I decided to just double down. But it was already too late. I was in my senior year and I couldn't affect my GPA or do anything like that. So I shifted into this high performance mentality, because I mean that was just one example for the sake of time. But there was tons of other just very strange activities for such a small town.
Did you have somebody to learn from at that age?
There wasn't really anybody around.
Local, right?
No, there wasn't anybody local. One of my first guys, Jim Rohn, that I got exposed to was Jim Rohn and Grant Cardone. My mother had shown a couple of YouTube videos to me, thought it might help, and it did. I started listening way more. Most people get in an entrepreneurship journey started in network marketing, selling pills, potions, not knowing the whole comp model is based off of recruiting people instead of packages. And so you think this is entrepreneurship. It's actually not. But it gets you some, you know,
feeling of what
some dirt under your fingernails, some claws. And I don't regret that at all. But I will say that, you know, the next phase of that, which was social media marketing, was the biggest shift in me. And it's because it was the Tai Lopez ad with him in his garage.
67 steps.
Not the 67. It was the SMMA. It was SMMA. Yeah.
You skipped one step.
I skipped a step. I skipped 67 steps. I was on the 68.
You didn't even watch the 67 steps. You skipped all of them. So.
I think originally in the last podcast, you mentioned that you got started with the 67 steps.
No, I was just learning from everybody. But at that time, Tai Lopez was one of those guys who I saw. There was nobody there. 67 steps was free. And he was just recording them and publishing them. And then he gave it out for free. And probably not many people were watching still. He was not selling anything. And then I was just listening and learning. And while he was uploading new ones, I was learning. And then I still have, I don't know how many courses for free. I never bought them. I don't know why. So that, for me, it was very valuable.
Yeah, Ty's such an interesting guy. Because, I mean, some of the books and stuff that you mentioned kind of led people down rabbit holes of information, really helped unlock more things for them. The SMMA program, it wasn't just him. He had other people training inside. And
how did that happen? So you were in SMMA, you learned from him, and then what happens? How do you get to his villa and each other's?
Well, many hot summer days with the ill-fitting suit and a laptop that overheats.
I saw those suits.
Of knocking.
I know Blake for a while. He had this red suit. Is that the one?
Well, no, that one fit quite well. The only $2,000 that I had at the time, which was the most I'd ever had, I'm like, it'd be a good idea is if I got a custom-made suit. And so this guy made this suit for me. And it was great. It definitely wasn't like anything you'd wear.
I saw photos of different ones. Yeah, the black one was maybe oversized or something.
Yeah, that was the better. That was like the second suit that I bought.
Yeah.
Like a good, nice peak lapel.
Why suits? You were learning from Jim Rohn, or was it more?
I watched the series Suits. Mike Ross, Harvey Specter.
Yeah.
The whole drama that inaccurately describes legal world in New York, but over dramatizes. I liked it. I was pursuing business law in college. I got a nice full ride for because I'm Indian American, right?
Okay,
and
nice.
A couple other things. But the suits, it's the easiest thing that a young man can do to help them with this identity shift. If they don't believe themselves to be that, I don't even say awe-inspiring entrepreneur, that there's this hyper masculine, hyper character that you could see yourself as. But even if you're several steps below that, just a man that's able to convert a person in their beliefs and help them get a solution when they don't want it, or when they're procrastinating to do it. You got to change up your identity a bit. So the suit really helped. Put on the suit, go to LA, because the Facebook group, there was a guy in the Facebook group. He's actually the one who started it, Chris LaPercio. Shout out Chris. He invited me out there, and I stayed in his 2-bedroom apartment. He was with his mom and his sister, so there wasn't even really room for me to sleep. And then, next thing you know, we're in, because he has a friend who works as his email marketer, Tai Lopez, his email marketer, we got an invitation to teach some stuff that we were doing with chatbots. Because I had done a few campaigns where you'd have a Facebook post and then tell people to comment below, and that was a comment bot. You see that all the time now, but it wasn't really a thing back then.
The auto DMs.
Yeah.
The old school auto DMs.
But why you? They had probably had hundreds of applicants, or there was no even application, but why you?
Well, nobody was talking about chatbots.
They trusted you specifically because they knew the same people.
It was a recommendation. Yeah. So.
And then you showed them what you're doing and things like that.
It was skill meeting opportunity.
Nice.
And then that's what happens.
Did you get paid?
I got paid $100. That's on the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to pay me something. If they didn't pay me anything, then
legal trouble.
Yeah, legal trouble for me for the content to be released to them and have full ownership of it. So it's just $100.
Was it worth it? The publicity and things?
Absolutely. I know people. I run into them in Colombia where I spent a lot of time. I run into a lot of guys who that was their exposure to me. I think I've got deals from it. Did I run it up to the fullest extent at the time? I was ignorant to what I had.
How old were you at the time?
It was 20.
All right, super young.
Yeah. 20. 19.
And I remember that time when Tai Lopez was killing it, and then approximately the same time, it feels like everything happened in the same time. And there was a small circle of marketers that were promoting ClickFunnels. They were starting. Then you had kind of built with tons of affiliates. I don't know if that software was kind of Go High Level, but before Go High Level. And then
Trish Record with ClickFunnels, with the ClickFunnels wrap.
Yeah, there was, yeah. And all of these guys were it was a small bubble, I feel.
Yeah, pre-Go High Level. Go High Level came in.
Yeah. Go High Level, I feel like it's now. It was just recently. But at that time, there was no tool that had everything. ClickFunnels was just funnels. Everybody was talking about what is a funnel, blah, blah. And it was kind of, if you are a consultant for ClickFunnels, you're killing it because nobody is doing it. Everybody wants it.
Limited awareness of sales teams. There was, I didn't even consider having a sales team on an info offer at all. I was everything's got to be automated. We got to run ads and retarget every day.
I have so many questions. That reminded me of other things that are interesting. Well, okay, so Tai Lopez, and then what? You're selling chatbots?
Who do you sell to? How do you get your first clients? What's the rugged start look like?
My first client, Lena LaRose, was a dance studio out in Montauk, New York. She still texts me and I help her, right? But she paid me several $100s just to help her new website, Facebook ad campaign. That was good. Second one was a hair salon. So all women-based businesses, as local businesses, all the restaurants that I worked with, they were pretty small. No big names, just all very small businesses doing less than $1 million a year.
And how
Like
did you
mom
feel?
and pops, brick
Yeah,
and
very,
mortar.
very mom and pop. And then my first like breakthrough info offer was Ricky Gutierrez, a trading offer that I just started. Like his brand was blowing up from streaming
On YouTube as well.
Yeah, live trading, streaming on YouTube. And
Before
then,
that, how did you feel like earning that first money from SMMA? Did you feel like, you're now balling, or you're independent, now you can do whatever you want? What did you do with that money?
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. I was like, still, there was this big gap because I knew I had unlocked something, but I just wasn't converting. I would still prospect and try to convert people, and they would just not want to do it. There wasn't as much demand as there is now.
Cool. Okay.
It wasn't like, hey, are you qualified or not? I was like, I don't think this will work.
So you're working with this home service,
Go for it.
and then you're working with those home service companies, and you have a couple of clients, everything's going good. How do you decide, like, okay, now fintech, I'm going to go and work with Ricky and going to help him? Like, how are you going to help him? What is your idea? How do you introduce yourself, and what's the goal? How do you even start
That was through network as well, because the guy Chris, he had been actually high school friends with the guy Ricky.
Okay.
So
and what Ricky
was
he big at that time? Was
yeah,
he
he's big.
money
He's
or
big in the
not?
trading space. A lot of the trading gurus now, they kind of attribute how they got started, inspired by Ricky.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Ricky just keeps himself. Small team, doesn't really like fuck with any other offers or products. Just keeps it simple with his trading offer and his family. So
he was looking for someone, or did you just come up?
Yeah, he wanted to grow. He needed like a marketing team. And so me and Chris, we took a 20% rev share, 20 or 15, somewhere around there. And, we would, that was actually the first rev share deal that I did. Everything else was just retainers. I was thinking through that lens of retainers. It was the first time I was like, oh, maybe I can see some upside. But I had no awareness of the mechanics of deals that, I do now. I would be very confused back then if I looked at the type of deals that I'm doing now.
What's the difference?
Well, there's buyout clauses. So that way people, if they don't want to hang out with me anymore or get my advice, they can just tell me to go and pay me to leave, right? And then you have this, like I know what equity is and the different things that you can do with it. And I don't think that people consider that in their first couple of years of doing digital marketing. They're just like, let me get some retainers and let me get the rev. Let me just validate that I can make this happen. And some of the businesses, I wasn't even like, it's a personal brand. Why would anybody exit that? But it's not about them exiting it. It's about, you making an exit and them removing you eventually, which is bound to happen because they, as a business owner, if you have the option to do that, you should exercise it if you're bullish on your long-term growth. Because I can kick out the 20% growth consultant, replace them with somebody on a salary, and I could do better, or somebody on a lower percentage. That's kind of the thought process. It's not always true. It's not always like true, accurate. In fact, you kicked out the initial guy, you might actually annihilate your business or have a slow season. But I was just operating on very limited information back then. Between Tai Lopez and some old stuff from Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham, there wasn't a lot of material pre-ChatGPT.
And okay, so you were with Ricky for how long were you with him?
Just a couple months.
Just a couple of months.
Yep.
And was it good? What did you learn? And how did you stop working? What was next? What was on your mind?
Yeah, I flew out to Bali first time. Got to do your travels. And then I don't remember working a lot while I was in Bali. Right.
Do you recommend it to other people?
Yeah, but you just got to make sure you work. And if you have a time zone situation, then you should probably not go to Bali, go to Colombia. I didn't even know Colombia was an option then. Yeah. But stopped working with Ricky in part because I was upset with my business partner. He wasn't working as much. He was like, just wanting to play Fortnite. And I got to bring up this story. It's nothing compared to who he is now as a man and how he spends his time. But back then, he was just complete. He had degenerate friends that would play Fortnite. And it's like one of those things. It's funny, these memes float around now. Like that laugh whenever it's Jeff Bezos with Leonardo DiCaprio. That laugh whenever you switch up on your day one homies. When you slime on your day one homies, you know?
Yeah.
And I look at that, I'm like, well, in a lot of people I know's cases, if they just actually did switch up on them, it would save them a lot of heartache. And I mean, there was a more entertaining situation where I crashed a $70,000 C63. I didn't crash it. According to insurance company, I did crash it though. Let's just say that.
Oh, I guess I understand what happened. Yeah.
But maybe there's a situation where a friend who doesn't know how to handle a fast car was driving said fast car. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to go into details on this one. But okay, so you're in Bali, and what's next? You got some money probably, and now you're thinking what's next, or you have
no, not
plans?
very much. It's like you're and this is so long ago. It's like eight years ago. But yeah, it's enjoy the time with these friends that you met online for the first time, traveling together. It was actually pretty fucking cool. Like we're all in a group chat, and then we decided, hey, let's go to Bali. So we all meet up in Miami, and then we fly out. We go from Miami to New York to Hong Kong. I live close to a lot of these guys now still in Colombia.
Okay.
And, we just stay in Bali for 3 months. And after that, I attempt to, set up shop in LA. It's too expensive. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like I'm paying so much money.
Two extremes, Bali 8 years ago and LA.
Yeah. I think I was paying like $4,500 a month for an apartment on Hollywood and Vine. And I was staying with a couple other guys. And then that just became too expensive and my sales weren't cracking it quite yet. So I had a few crash out moments. Not just because of the money, but because part of why I flew out was because this girl I liked, she was kind of like model material. I never dated a model before because in Oklahoma, they don't really have those. And so I go out and I date her and I realize, oh shit, she's a multi-millionaire, or like dad's, everybody's rich. And so this massive imposter syndrome, and so somebody fucking listens right now probably may be going through the same thing. Like they come on to fast money and then they go to move to Miami and they just date a girl or they date somebody they're dating up, they feel like, and you don't even feel worthy. So there's a situation where I couldn't be in LA for like a good month or two because I couldn't afford rent. So I went back to Oklahoma and I said, you know what? I can't date you anymore.
That's how you broke up.
That's how we broke up. I can't date you anymore because I can't financially fucking even be in the same city you are.
Fuck. So
what am I going to do?
You know what's interesting? Like we met after that, just shortly after that. But I saw those pictures on Instagram. And I saw the suits pictures. I saw like Tai Lopez. And I saw pictures with that girl. I saw like a bunch of, and I was like, okay,
you're sold.
That's his story.
He was ready to show you an info offer.
No, it was like fucking. It's a normal Instagram profile, and then I think you were erasing one by one or something like that. Something you were changing your profile, archiving. I don't know, but it looked.
That relationship was a short stint. I had a relationship after that,
but plenty of pictures.
It was a crash out.
Huh? Sorry?
Plenty of pictures. Short relationships.
No. But there was actually, she was really a good looking girl and everything. And he was like a baller, young guy doing business and this and that. Looked cool, the profile. But it was like any guy's profile, unorganized, but just the pictures of life. But it looked cool because you see there's something going on there.
That girl on my profile, she's my 2-year girlfriend that I think you're talking about, Rosie. She's not the one that I'm mentioning.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There was a different girl before that.
Okay.
But yeah, I was definitely ready to sell an info offer at any point in time during that whole thing.
What's the advice for young fellows who are heartbroken?
Yeah, you need to go to Colombia. My brother, he's 17, right?
Blake is here with his Colombian girlfriend.
No, this is very important advice.
That's the advice.
It's very important advice because the dating market has changed. Guys are, it's kind of actually easier now to date as a guy in America because dudes don't have social skills. So you have a big competitive advantage, right? But if you just got like some sort of internal stuff that's making you feel like you're unworthy, that you're not lovable, etc. I mean, you can get hypnotized. You can do a Joe Dispenza meditation. You can write out your perfect dream woman. Okay, you can do some of these exercises. If you're more of this practical, like dopaminergic, you need action, you need to like see it in real life, then you book like you go to Miami or Houston and you have this flight that costs around, I don't know, $300 to this place called Medellin. You get some Airbnbs. Don't hire the prostitutes. You actually don't fucking do that, okay? I mean, you can if you're lazy and you want to join the, 50, 60-year-old guys that have crashed out from a divorce and, enjoying the leftovers from that. But you can meet lovely ladies, okay, and date them through Bumble or even just go into a gym and just like approaching a woman there. They're very receptive to it. Practice your approach, practice your Spanish. And there you go. You got a Colombian girlfriend, your ego's boosted. You go back, you have photos with your Colombian girlfriend, or maybe a few, I don't know. You could be the playboy. If you're going to be a playboy, if you like agreed to yourself, you're going to be this playboy and you're living in the United States, then like your life would just be so much easier if you do that playboy chapter in a place like Colombia.
Oh, okay. What's your pickup line in Colombia?
Dude, that's an expensive question.
Yeah,
that's an expensive question to ask.
I haven't used it in a bit because I'm in a relationship now.
Yeah.
But it would be like, why are you so beautiful in Spanish, right?
Okay. Yeah. I would fall for it immediately.
I didn't do a lot of cold approach though. I would do just the dating. I was getting success with that. But where I met my current girlfriend was from an entrepreneur mastermind. She was running the events there.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. But that's like giving advice to my younger self who was crashing out because this, model, rich girl, way better than me in like every metric, pedestalized. And I even consciously knew that that all these things were going on, but emotionally I was just so hurt. There's so much trauma unresolved. And I was working with a guy named Jason Capital, who was a dating coach turned business coach.
Yeah.
And I was over at his house recording some ads, beautiful Newport Beach mansion like that he had at the time. And he was like on the Real Housewives of Orange County. It was like a nice house. I asked him like, dude, how do I like manage a relationship? How do I get over this girl? He's like, he just gave me some simple advice. It didn't help me, but it was simple advice that makes sense now. It's like, you just gotta like release expectations and like stop caring as much.
That's
I guess he could tell that I was like very hyper fixated on this.
But
situation.
Just before we continue, because that's a super interesting topic. You said as a young guy, you should, you feel like you're not worthy. Do you think that young guys even know how that not worthiness feels like? Like, do you just know you're feeling bad or you're not comfortable, but how do you feel when you're not worthy? Because that's, in my age, like when I was younger, I would just say, I wouldn't know how to behave. I would feel everything else, but not defining this as not feeling worthy.
Yeah, not feeling worthiness isn't really a emotion. Like you can just walk up to somebody on the street and say, how do you feel worthy? Yeah, you're right. You can't really, how does that feel in your body?
Yeah.
I think another way to state it is you're just overly anxious about certain social scenarios that you really shouldn't be anxious about.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah, but I mean,
and the anxiousness that you feel, this like incoherence. That's because you believe that you are unworthy. Because if you were worthy, and if that was like normal for you,
yeah, I think that's the key. Like
you're able to.
If you feel like different, uneasy, you're not yourself, nervous, things like that.
Like how you would feel sitting down playing a video game with a friend or watching sports with a friend.
And how do you get over it?
Well, that was the Colombia example. Because those women believe you to be worthy. Maybe not for reasons that are completely but because it's economically valuable for them to date you. But at least it trains your nervous system
And
to be like okay around that sort of
a
person.
lot of times in our society, I see the value of man is connected to their financial worth. How do you disconnect from that? How do you get to a billionaire, talk to him the same way you talk to me, or a model girl, talk to her the same way you talk to me? How do you do that?
Right. How do you get over that? I mean, even guys who are probably like making millions, if they take a big hit, okay, and they lose everything,
and their confidence is done.
Yeah. So
I have friends like that. I have extreme examples of that. And if you get over it, it's such a good story, but it's very difficult.
The self-talk, this narrative that you have about all the things you overcame in life thus far, outside of money, you know, and also don't hedge everything on just things that money can buy. What do I mean by this? So when I started making money, I was able to get more time to learn about the dynamics of my family and people's problems in that family. I'm like, all right, if some of these problems don't get solved, they kind of fester, and it's like a cancer, one of which could be like health. Your family's very unhealthy. You have fat people in your family that are eating terrible food, okay, morbidly obese. In America, like 1 in every 3 people are morbidly obese. But when I say morbidly, I do mean like 400 pounds. I mean, like, you're not able to move around gracefully.
That's what we don't even
like
call fat. That's even higher level. Like morbidly obese. It's like you cannot move. That's what you mean.
Yeah, which was the case for my mother. She was like, she had several like health issues, and her issue was she was emotionally eating all the time. She had this unhealthy relationship with food, and that would show like in her body. And we couldn't take certain trips because she just was unfit to do it. Now she's the lightest she's ever been. She's like lost 200 pounds, which is great. But it's a result of me spending time on learning about her, helping her, learning about resources that can help her get out of that funk, like hypnosis, diet planning.
Because a lot of it was mental,
personal
right?
trainer.
Yeah, I remember you were.
And so I feel proud of that. Right. So I could be at 0 and I'd still think to myself,
I did that. Yeah.
Or there's scenarios, very personal things with my siblings that because they don't have their father in their life, it creates issues for them personally. There's conversations that I've had with them that, I mean, it's built me as a man. And I think that's 100%. Really what makes a man, is this collection of conversations or decisions that you make, especially with the people that you care about in your life, where you could have like you handle that the best way you possibly can. Like my little brother yelling and being extremely disrespectful to my mother. The way that his father and my father and many other men would handle that situation is they'd whoop his ass. They'd get him a smack across the face and like yelling match as well and tell him he needs to get the fuck out and do all that. And I felt that narrative was like in my mind, and I felt the energy of that anger. And I was just laying there listening and hearing this whole thing. But instead of doing that, it's like I just flushed the toilet and got up and like just had this intention of, I'm going to see if I can disarm him in this state of like rage that he's in, that he's projecting on my mother right now. She had did nothing to him. He just was projecting a lot of stuff. And I just walked him through like a series of questions. When I say walked him through, I mean, I asked him questions and he would like snap back and say some bullshit. But it wasn't until I said this story about a shared experience, which is our grandmother, who is currently at the end of her life. Like she cannot speak anymore. She has had a stroke. I had the shared experience of, you know, we both love her. And, you know, I told her as I was sitting down, I told him that as I was sitting down with our grandmother, and, you know, she could smile, she could laugh, but she couldn't say anything to me. And I held her hand. Okay, I looked at my own hand, and on my hand is a scar. This scar is from when I got mad at her one day. I had crashed a picture frame, okay? I was young, just like him. I crashed a picture frame, and I took my rage out, and it caused this whole situation. We had to go to the hospital, and she felt bad and whatever, okay? Because I couldn't control my emotions. And I say, now I look at that, and I'm holding her hand and blame myself, why would I ever let myself let loose, you know, on somebody who is just so,
Yeah.
you know, that has always loved me, has always cared for me, that compared to the world who would punish me for my actions, she would unconditionally forgive me. So why would I, in this moment, have this type of malice, have this type of hatred and say the sorts of things? And so I gave this specific example, and he immediately was like, okay, like he took it to a different level. And but see, I had the courage to say these things. I had the courage to switch the vibration of the conversation.
That's so huge.
And
break the pattern.
Right. And so later he apologized to my mom. Like I walked outside and left because I was still a little bit flustered, even though I was saying this. But I broke the pattern right there because there was forgiveness, and then they were able to continue on. If that did not happen, there would have been like this resentment in the air the whole rest of the time that I would have been there. If I just sat back and did nothing, like there would have just been like this. And everybody in their family experienced this. There's like a fight. There's a little bit of resentment. Maybe there's like a slight bit of a forgiveness thing, or they go out to dinner and then like they just kind of rub it off, whatever, and then they go back to their lives. But nothing is truly like totally forgiven. There's not like an intentional, hey, I want to let you know what I said was totally out of line and I was feeling very distraught. It had nothing to do with you, but how can I make it better? There's none of that sort of languaging that goes on.
Yep.
In the same way we would obsess about languaging on a sales script to optimize like a fucking closing rate. Why aren't we optimizing the language, like the conversations we could be having with our families, so we can, you know, sort these issues out? So that's what I've made a mission to do over these years. And it's brought me so much more fulfillment, and money could probably buy the coaching to make that happen, but I still need the intention to make that, and actually
the decision to actually change.
Right. So, and it's something that I wanted to touch on because it's recent, it's top of mind for me. And, I think there's a lot of potential with this, because even my own father, he's ruined his divorce, or he's ruined his marriage several years ago, and went on a spiral. A guy was sleeping on an air mattress in my 1-bedroom apartment, asking me for money and all that, and I had to provide for him. It was a weird situation for a son to want to provide for his father. And he had never been able to communicate how he was feeling, his emotions, because of the trauma his father gave him from the 8 years of Iraq war that he was in on the front lines, like blowing shit up and like being involved in all that. His demons preventing him from speaking how he feels and getting punished whenever he tries to express himself, never feeling like he's connecting with people. The work that I've done with my own father over these years, just in our conversations, has helped him open up, and he's at the most peace he's ever been. There's still a bit to go, but he's the most peace he's ever been. He's communicating with me. The conversations we have now, nothing compared, and he's only 43, but they're nothing compared to what they're going to be like 5 years from now. I mean, we're going to have such a great time. But I'll tell you, in 2016, shit was rough. Like, nobody in my family could trust my father with something to do. I mean, he was just so irrationally like rage filled, and he would black out and be violent. He was a good security guard, but he had some things he had to work through, and I'm proud that as part of my portfolio of accomplishments, I was able to help him do that. I don't want to take full credit because he's his own sovereign person.
He also made a decision to actually
he made the decision. But I think that's what we can do as men that are like, we're setting up infrastructure to help thousands, millions of people make decisions every day. You know, what are we doing in our own personal lives, or even in the personal lives of the people that work for us? I was talking in Marbella with a guy, Josh. He runs like the biggest stock options offer on Whop. And he says that he invests, he's aligned with me on this notion. He invests into his team for family therapy. And he finds that when his team can be more coherent in their family, that they show up more powerfully and their numbers do go up. So if anybody could take something like extremely useful from a podcast like this, it's the, like, how can you have the conversations maybe that you've been avoiding, or maybe that you've been done fucking poorly with your family. Maybe you've done a pretty piss poor job with certain conversations with your family, and but you're doing great on the business end. Like maybe you're having great conversations there, but there's a certain things that you gotta tweak with that. And I'm not the instructor. I don't got the formula for it entire. Like I don't have it down enough to teach it, but I just see that as being pretty important.
So many things that you just said.
I had to spill it out.
Felt like it's so true, and I had so many similar situations. And I think what helped me is look at your parents right now, whatever age you are, and imagine them in the end, like when they don't have the energy to fight, scream, be aggressive, and things like that. Would you have any resentment for them then? Probably not, like because it's the end. And why were you then angry at all? Because it doesn't even matter. And if you walk down the street, that helped me a lot. Also, seeing somebody, for example, honks at you or whatever, like just is angry at you in the traffic, for example. And if you see them as just another person who is, for example, a woman, she's a mother. And imagine somebody being angry at your mother. Like you get angry at her and start swearing at her. Why would you? Like imagine somebody doing that to your mother. And then at that point, like it just is harmless immediately. That person is just another person if you just start imagining that. And another point that I wanted to mention is when you look at you're a young guy, you don't feel worth. Of course, you have to feel the worth because you have to be worthy of something. But how do you do that? You don't need to earn $1 million. You don't need to go through this whole process, but you could make up medals for yourself. Like whatever you do, it's something that you keep inside of you. You don't have to say it out loud, but you just know that's true. Like all of these things that you mentioned, those are your medals. And you don't need to say them out loud, but you know that you have them and you collected them. And that's how anybody does. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have a fucking big business. Nobody, I don't care. That's not the primary thing. The worst thing is when you get there, you realize like it's not what you want. Doesn't matter at what level you expect to get there, but it means nothing. And those little medals are what accumulates and what everybody can get.
Yeah, it should be a part of everybody's goal. And if those sorts of personal family life goals aren't on somebody's list or it's not top of mind, maybe it's not there because it just seems so far-fetched that change is even possible. And of course, if you want people to change, you can't just make projects out of people. You have to change yourself and be proactive about it. This whole philosophy around that. But what would best case scenario be? How would it feel? What would it look like? And just kind of describing that. I last trip with my mom and dad, I thought I'd never see this, but they were just sitting together laughing. Like they used to, there was a child custody court taking place, 10 years prior.
It's amazing, yeah.
Over me with them.
I think also what helps is when you're starting out and you think you're not worthy, you don't have any accomplishments, you think you don't have them, but imagining how cool it will be when you get there and how this is just another trip where you're getting, because now I felt like I have no accomplishments, blah, blah, blah. And then it just stacks one on top of the other. Yeah. And then I'm thinking like, fuck, I should have known. It was obvious.
Because there's not a distinct change. It always sort of stacks up.
And because when you suck, you don't want to suck. But then after some experience, you are enjoying how bad it is because you know that there will be progress and then everybody will see that just being bad at something is actually like you're gonna get there. For me now it's like videos on YouTube, like options, all of these things. I enjoy that. I don't care about looking bad because it's just gonna be in a year or 5 years. I'm just gonna watch this and say, I'm glad I recorded. I'm glad I have this document.
One of the things that's interesting for me is I know your backstory, not listening to your backstory, is one of the things that I realized is going through these sort of situations and early on in your childhood, it's almost like a forcing factor for you to grow up. And I feel like a really good way to judge that is the moment you start looking at your parents is like, oh, you're not ideal, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have this idea of your dad being a superhero as long as you're a kid, and then at some point he's not a superhero, and then you're like, oh, you suck, right? Like you're like the worst, cycle, right? You go from like you're a superhero to like,
I hate
how are you so stupid? If I was you, I would do this.
And then you're like, oh, okay.
And now I have this. I know this personally. I told this to my dad I think like a couple of months ago. It's like I had my second kid, and I went to him and I told him, I was like, I get you now, right? I get a lot of stuff, and only now I can appreciate a lot of the stuff you did. And I'm like, you did what you had at that moment.
Yeah.
And that was the best you did, right? That was the best you could at that moment. Maybe you wanted to do even more, but like that was all you had in your tank. And that's something that I think is an interesting sort of like phase. If you think on a graph, is like you go superhero, I hate you, now I understand you.
Yeah.
And that sort of graph, how you go with your parents. And I think that's like, that's like how you grow up as a kid, go from a kid to being an adult. And I think, again, knowing your backstory now, listening to your backstory, the earlier you have that moment of going like, you're a superhero, I hate you, I understand you. The earlier you have that cadence in your life, the earlier you grow up. Because you can be a grown-up at 20. You can be a grown-up at 17. And some people at 30 still haven't gone through that phase, right? And I think that's a really interesting way of understanding, like, are you actually a grown-up? Have you actually started, being a person who can then look at, this ideal, notion of your parent that you're like naturally drawn to idealize, right? And they're like, oh yeah, but like he was just a dude as well, right?
I had the same thing. And when I look back at my father's actions, I'm like, of course, he probably had such a tough life. And that's why he was doing what he was doing. And I have this theory that everybody's doing their best at every moment. Because what's best, whatever somebody thinks is
all
best.
They have in the tank at the moment.
Because
right?
you can make a choice. At every moment, you can make a choice what to do. And you're probably doing what's best, what you think is best.
Yep.
Whether it's like doing nothing, doing stupid shit, being a drug, you think that's best. Like, why would you do that otherwise?
Yep.
And maybe there's a theory where you can argue, but the end...
There's for sure there are people who don't have their best intentions. But knowing most people, like you can categorize them into a bucket, like if they actually.
I used to, like 5-10 years ago, I had this theory where I said, okay, that's why you're doing this. You think that's the best thing you can do at this moment,
right?
And then I would go, and I haven't found an argument against it, because in the end, why would somebody
do
it?
That's game theory 101.
Yeah.
It's like everyone always has two options. They're always going to pick the one with the best likelihood, what they, perceive is going to give them the best outcome.
Yeah. And Blake, so, okay, this is super interesting. I think we could talk about this for hours now, but.
Yeah, I don't know how long I went. I just wanted to.
No, it was amazing. Because like it's that's the thing I want to talk about. Like these moments in life. This story is super interesting, but going deep into what were you thinking? Why were you thinking like that? What are the realizations? I think people who don't go through this miss out. And what do you think is the difference between a person who grows up in the same environment, same age, like twins, same father, mother environment, one is successful, one is not?
I think the love that they receive from the parent, because it's the parents. Your question was, they both grew up in the same house?
Everything the same, but different outcomes.
Okay.
Twins, same age.
I don't believe that there is a 50-50 split in the love that they're going to receive from their parents. I think there's going to be favoritism.
And you think if there is like experience of one twin feels like, maybe it's not true, but just feels like the other one is getting more attention in 1%, that might change drastically. Like 1% has drastic outcome on their life.
Yeah, you could probably map all the situations that twins have to go through as they live with their parents, travel, etc. And there will be situations where one twin gets preferential treatment. And no parent, unless they're really good, is keeping score on a 50-50 split of it. And it could be like, I raised my voice about a situation to one twin, and I was just in a different mood, and I was kinder, and then I took the other twin very like a softer, like more approach. And if the other twin sees that, then they're like, Huh?
Wait a minute, right?
Man, I have a brother. You met him. I think you knew each other from before, or maybe he knows about
We
you.
were on
Anyways.
Zoom. Yeah.
But I was lucky he was older, 1.5 years older.
Okay.
And I just learned from everything that he did wrong. And I was just watching and learning. And I was lucky with that. But there was so many times I do something wrong or he does something wrong and we got smacked, just both of us, just because. It's fair.
That's a lesson.
I remember like my father running, catching us with the belt, and he gets beaten, and I'm like, oh fuck, no point of running. I just wait.
I want to digress back to your story. So you go through this. Hey, I'm doing coaching for Tai Lopez.
All these good names, yeah.
Right. I'm back in Oklahoma. Like I can't afford to be in LA.
Mm-hmm.
How does that extrapolate into your position right now? Like give us the short summary of that. Like how do you go from like, oh, I had to move back to Oklahoma?
I think my life in business is a series of Hail Marys. And so, Hail Mary from back to Oklahoma to LA because just things started to look better. Business wise, I'm like, all right, let's go back. And got one client from cold email. Didn't send a lot of cold emails, but just sent one cold and just used the previous case study, Ricky Gutierrez, and then just was able to get on a good rev share on a $20K a month YouTube, one creator business. And I was like, all right, we need to pump those numbers up. Tried the same campaign I did for the other creator. Didn't work. I'm like, all right, let's try more. Didn't do ads, but I thought to myself, hey, and this is on my IG as like my top reel because it's like one of the biggest breakthroughs I believe in business for me. It's discovering I could have people sell in chat, that I could have other people sell in general for me, but having people sell in chat and manage all these different conversations, it's just a big breakthrough. And then that evolving into a phone sales team, and then us being one of the first in like the info or in the YouTube creator, financial creator space to have a phone sales team. And then we did it and we just did it really well. And we're just cranking now. And all the time, like I'm living in Vegas during COVID as this is happening. It's all remote sales team. We can't even fly our people out. A guy would make us, $100K in a month, and we'd be like, sorry, like we can't do it because of the COVID restrictions, but we'd love to have you join in on like the company in person. That's something I wish that I had more of.
Yeah.
I had more of.
And then I guess, sorry to interrupt, but I guess like you caught that wave of like COVID happened. Yeah. Info, like we all know what happened in 2020 after COVID hit. With
info and stocks.
Right.
And my guru's stocks.
Right.
Specifically, like it was Tesla. It was this small cap stock, Planet 13, it was cannabis, tattooed chef, vegan company. And those are the main ones that he would talk about.
I remember.
And the funny algorithm of YouTube, when you talk about a subject, if you're a smaller creator and you want to grow your subscriber base, you talk about what the big guys are talking about. And when you have all these YouTubers talking about it, you have an increase in the stock price because many people are buying. And if it's all long-term investing content, then people are not buying and selling. They are buying and holding. So there is pumps and sustainability, but not complete sustainability for the rest of the
eternity of the stock, right?
Yeah. So there was moments, especially during the GameStop situation, where people would dump because they wanted to get into short-term stuff, even though we were completely against short-term trading. It was all long-term investing. We have portfolios with people coming in with existing 6-figure or 7-figure portfolios. Like, how can I improve this? Help me out. My wealth manager, my financial advisor sucks. I want to take a self-directed approach. That's why they're YouTube searching how to invest in stocks themselves, because they want to take action on their own, but not completely on their own because now they want some extra help. That's why they booked a call. And the guy I mentioned in Marbella, Josh, he is almost an identical situation to who I was. He's doing $2 million a month. He's surpassed what we've ever done. And it's just following the same model of consistent YouTube content about the market and factors that would influence the market. People are always interested in. And if you have a track record of being right, they want to be behind that. They want to be the first to know. So I just saw all this cool stuff firsthand. I mean, we had a mastermind, just a small like get together with Graham Stephan, Andre Jick, Meet Kevin. And this was in 2020 and everything was shut down. You know, everybody just meets up with each other and we're just talking about content, YouTube stuff. I'm like, damn, this whole YouTube thing sounds great. I wonder how long it would take. I always never did it myself because I'm like, damn, this is going to take so much energy. People underestimate the energy it takes to put all this together. But I've seen it firsthand. So I'm like, I don't like that. Let me come in whenever that's built and then help you like with the sales and, you know, conversion portion. So that's how that evolved. And this whole time I'm buying into courses and the masterminds and just throwing my money back into getting better information. Don't know if there's...
How did that offer? How long did you do that one?
Yeah, that offer we made in 18 months around 7 million. And when that offer, the high ticket completely concluded, all in all, it was around 10. And then the reason why it just ceased was because they downgraded the team, market conditions, and then regulators wanted to know what we were doing. We had to change the way we were coaching people. So we had to do some, again, firing of all the coaches because they couldn't be as personalized or as direct with their suggestions. And I mean, these creators, they come in waves too. There's other people that come onto the scene that just do it better.
Who's impressive right now to you?
Who's impressive in financial creator space?
Yeah.
So Felix and Friends, obviously. Goat Academy. We have Invest with Henry. We have a couple, not personal brands, but they're more like identity. They're just a faceless brand, semi-faceless.
Okay.
Right. But those are the three ones that I want to mention here.
Nice.
Get publicity.
And in general, who do you look up to? Who do you learn from? Who do you look up to?
I really like Cole Gordon's work, the Sales Team Accelerator. I bought his program. I had the pleasure of meeting him in Vegas at like a Ryan Dice Mastermind 2021. I didn't even know who the hell he was. I was like, oh, cool. And then a couple months later, I see Sales Team Accelerator like ad and all that, and hop on a call with Mitch and, you know, buy it. Dude was not in a suit or anything. It looked like he was in a back patio and was just, you know, showing me what was going on. What he did is he showed me like the back end of all the docs that they had. And that's whenever I was sold, because we had done a lot of, but I think 60% of what Sales Team Accelerator was teaching, we were already doing, but they had just written everything down. There was a time whenever Cole Gordon, like that's what he was kind of known for, was like all of these extensive Google Docs and laying out every single detail. And that was just so strong. And his engineering mind thought about that, like his brain was great. And similar to what Sam Ovens did, you know, in Consulting Accelerator, having like these really, these philosophical, musings, mindset shifts around business, and it being just so cleanly organized in a slide deck, and people really liking that. People really like the Google Doc. I personally like it because I can use it. I can just pull out this Google Doc and I can give it to a setter team, or I can give it to an existing, you know, diagnosing and fixing constraints, for example. This is the whole thing that, I mean, he probably has some free YouTube videos, but the diagnosing and fixing constraints, anybody who's giving, like running a current operation, or like, why is stuff broken or slow? You know, there's all these things that you don't think to look for that would affect your show up rate, affect closing rate, all that. And so he just has a doc and he's able to run people through these docs. And yeah, that was pre-ChatGPT as well, I believe. So that was really useful. Nick Cosman had really, I think Nick Cosman had the stuff that made me really build the sales team.
That's
hardcore.
what I was excited when you mentioned. When you mentioned, okay, now this era of this offer is done. I know what's next, and that's my favorite topic, probably. Like
the Nick Cosman.
I think a lot of people don't know who Nick Cosman is, but I think he's like
those who know.
He was, for me, it was the most impressive marketer, and still is, because I'm looking at tech, proper companies, not fucking selling courses and being just an influencer. I'm looking at proper companies. This guy helped building.
Like Cold Lauren's great for coaching and info, but Nick is truly, like, in terms of enterprise value and what he's driven
crazy.
And what he could have even had the potential to drive.
Yeah.
Had, he not gone through such headwinds, emotionally, mentally, from a bunch of different reasons. He was absolutely great. And what anybody watching can learn from him is like, you want to be very methodical about describing your case studies and how that translates to ROI when you're selling. How can you justify your ROI? And then can you take a case study and extrapolate to excruciating Einstein level detail how this impacted this business, the first, secondary, and tertiary consequences of this business. Yes, they increased revenue. What did that do to their enterprise value? What did that do to the cost that now takes for them? Like, it doesn't cost as much for them to hire people because now they have they do so much better than the other competition. The reps make so much more. So their hiring pipeline can be more flooded in this season of their business.
Yeah.
And so the talent acquisition goes, it's just all these metrics improve.
Yeah.
And, the exitability, not even just enterprise value, but how easy it is for you to sell the thing too afterwards because you have all this stuff built.
It's the most interesting thing about business I can think of, because if you just watch it and you never build a business, it looks like this guy's crazy. This is useless. Yeah. There's some numbers and formulas and things like that. But then when you build a business and you build a proper machine, and then you're like, fuck, this guy, someone from the outside doesn't understand. That's what I see in our business. You look at some things that don't make sense to you unless you hear the whole story and each point of marketing, sales, and product, and how each of these things communicate together into like one machine, and then how one thing affects the other. It's crazy how deep you can go into this. But you went, so that offer ended, the consulting deal with the other fintech guy before Nick Cosman, and then you record the video with Nick, and that's when we met basically. And
so I was a customer at Nick's. I was in his mastermind,
and
then when I was ramping down from that other offer I mentioned, I started working with Nick on his growth consulting. Like whenever he coined the term growth consulting.
Yeah, I remember that was really good. Yeah.
We worked on a little VSL. 90% of the work he did, I just recommended he should use a house cat as a example, and a couple other elements. And then I took some sales calls and coached some of the guys that were inside that initial group of growth consultants. So it was really interesting. I mean, pre-ChatGPT, when you have to write a long ass sales letter like that, and you can just keep writing and writing and writing, because writing's never been my strong suit. Now it's much easier because you can get your ideas out with ChatGPT, and it kind of just people that are getting into marketing and sales now, they don't really appreciate. They would look at what Nick made and they'd be like, "What are you talking about here?" But before you have an LLM to output something like that, requires that you like iterate over and over.
Yeah, you need to know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's like writing code in a software. So but with language for sales. So I think that Nick was great. And
it had the weirdest funnels later on. Like,
later on.
The weirdest, I don't know if you saw, but it was like transitionary.
Because I work so close to him, I know like probably more excruciating details about that whole situation than many do.
Yeah.
But I mean, the big takeaway is don't do drugs, kids. Certain kinds in isolation. Don't isolate yourself and do a bunch.
Like even without drugs, isolation is like
Yeah,
a weird
for long
feeling.
periods
Yep.
of time.
Yeah.
Long periods of time. Isolation is not good. That's why we're here. I'm traveling. I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
It just,
It's one of keys of happiness. Keys of happiness, I think, being with other people. Without them, why? What's the point?
you see the guys on Twitter. They're like, I'm going to lock in. If I'm not going to leave my room until I get a
I
billion
think
dollar
that's
company.
a stupid
Day 47.
idea. Yeah.
I'm done. I got to go. I got to leave. Yeah.
It's just
It's
like,
not the
okay,
way.
what's the difference then between that and COVID? If you lock yourself in, then I during COVID, I was supposed to be 14 days in quarantine because I wasn't sick or anything, but it was just the rule because I was still traveling and wanted to travel. And after day 3, and I had big, huge terrace and apartment, and I still got crazy staying in house. I went mad, like almost. I couldn't imagine locking myself in, like just not speaking to anybody, not being around people.
I mean, Peter Thiel, like people are like, oh, well, the super high achieving, like they're just gonna stick to us. No, Peter Thiel, he's an investor in Whop and like puts a lot of input. We're very sociable over there, and for good reason, because you achieve growth and accomplishments in your business through network and deep work sessions, but not just deep work sessions for most businesses. Did we want to get into the other?
Yeah, I'm
things
curious.
that we-
I'm curious. Where are you now? What do you do now? What is happening? What are you involved in? What are some cool things happening in the industry now that I think you feel like people would get interesting insights from?
Yeah, so like Jeffrey Epstein, I've touched a lot of people in the industry. I've touched a lot
There's
of
this
people in the
island.
industry. There is a list, okay? There is a list.
There is a list.
And I'm checking it twice, trying to figure out who's naughty and nice. But no, really, the reason why Whop hired me was because they looked at my followers. I had sent them some business too before they even paid me a cent. And they looked at the people who were following me, and it was in their ICP. It just so happened, like over the years, I've just been connecting with people who were like, they knew nothing about. They were completely new to the info scene. The Pace Morbies, the Tai Lopez's, the publishing.com, the Mickelson twins, they just said we're not connected. Any of those people. I didn't bring those guys, by the way. They're just some big names that work with Whop. And they wanted to pay for speed. So around this time last year, actually, I connected with Dan Telecamp. This tall guy invited me over to Whop headquarters, was there, connected with the team. A couple of days goes by, was of us just talking, me supplying some ideas. And they're like, hey, you want to work with us? Put you on retainer as a consultant. The criteria that I needed to bring them $1 million a month in new GMV, gross merchandise value. And I did it. I was like, oh, sure. I don't have to live there or anything. That was an option later down the road. Like, do you want to live in New York and do the whole, like, stay here? But I just am too agile and I want to be, I want to go places. And taxes too in New York are not cool at all. So that was a fun time because it was just 3-way chatting in folks who had payment processor issues. I'd post on my story, hey, is Stripe giving you issues? Somebody like, yes, they're holding my funds, or yes, I'm on a 20% reserve. After 5 years of using them and this much process, they throw this reserve at me because there was a shift in the industry and everybody in InfoSpace getting carpet pulled. And then after that phase, around like November, December, buy now, pay later start to shut down just for people independently using it on Stripe, no longer able to use it. And so there are all these folks flooding into Whop. A competitor, Copecart, who I've not sent any business to, they were actually at my friend's event last year, and their whole banner on their front at the event space was, we got all these buy now, pay laters, Klarna, Affirm, Afterpay, we got all that. Here's all the info on like why implementing buy now, pay later will increase your coaching revenue by 30%, whatever. And now they had everything taken from them So it was their main selling prop. What happened to all those main, value prop? They don't have any ability now to retain their customers. They had to, or the merchants, they all left. They left and they went to Whop and they went to fan bases. And soon even Whop and fan bases lost ability to use Klarna and Affirm. And now Whop has Klarna. Affirm, like nobody can get Affirm unless you already had it. That's the current state of the market.
Why?
It was outside of the policy. Like you would have to know a guy. I mean, some folks like Warrior Babe, Ryan Clogg, he has a great deal with Affirm. Won't get into specifics, but he just has been a power user of them. And all of his customer base, I mean, think about it. Mid 30s, 40s, 50s females using buy now, pay later, a pretty decent credit profile.
Yeah.
Like very low likelihood.
Who else are you going to get?
Of defaulting.
Yeah.
It's probably the best. Yeah.
Very low likelihood of defaulting. So he had a very healthy couple-year relationship with the firm, proving that people can pay off their loans. And so, he's continuing to use it. But other people, not really. And some coaching organizations have their they have 50% of their sales coming through buy now, pay later. They carpet pull that. Now you have operational expenses going, crazy. So a new solution needed to come. And there are some still developing. Like there's My Abundant, which rebranded to Pava. And I believe Fanbases has it. Whop might get it soon. I don't know. But it's a big deal in the US to use these buy now, pay laters because, and there's one, it's not a buy now, pay later because it's not technically a loan, but you take an existing credit card and you put a pre-authorization on it like you would a hotel. And then what this does is the customer can pay for the entire program upfront. You get the money, the merchant, in 4 days. And then they're left with a 12-month payment plan that comes out of their credit card statements without any hits on their credit score, without showing up as an actual balance. And in fact, if they called their credit card provider and asked them, hey, can you increase my limits? I just got a pre-authorization for $10,000. That's not like the whole limit. Can you increase my limit? They're more likely to give you a limit increase than if you were to actually swipe that.
Because they have a track record of you paying down stuff.
Yeah, and you didn't technically just buy something for $10,000.
Yeah. You
pre-authed it. So they still want you to use it. So they're going to increase it for you. That's at least what we're seeing. And in some of the sales orgs that are coming through that have lost to Affirm and these other buy now, pay laters, they're cleaning up with it. And then some of the objections we get is like, oh yeah, sounds great, but I'm trying to sell to people with 600 credit scores with terrible, like don't even have credit cards or 650 credits. Like, well, no, don't sell to those people in general. Please don't. There are programs like a special financing program. Everybody's approved. Have you heard of this? Everybody's approved thing? Oh man, it's wild. They give you, the merchant, 60% of the value. So it's a heavy
it's a
merchant
split
fee.
risk.
Yes, it's a split risky. And you can get anybody, regardless of credit score, approved for this, and you get.
Blake, are we in a bubble? Are we in a bubble?
That's a pretty bubbly one.
Wait, so what does that mean? Somebody needs to pay me 10,000, I get 6, and the processor
you
is
know much on this?
4.
You use it or see it before? Okay. Yeah, so that just means like no credit. It's a ninja.
It's a ninja.
Yeah, okay.
No income,
I know
not
that.
application.
Yeah. Okay, but what does it mean in terms of I sell something for 10,000? What happens?
Yeah, that means
huge reserves, and then for every 2.5 buyers, they are securing one who doesn't pay, or what?
Yeah, if they don't pay after a certain like couple months, then
they keep the money, the reserve. Yeah. Okay, and it's 40% the reserve rate. I mean, good for them.
There's different tiers actually.
It works. So.
There's like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. I don't use it for any of my offers, nor do I suggest it.
Yeah.
Because philosophically, I just don't want to involve myself in businesses that sell to broke customers. Jeremy Haynes would probably vouch for this as well. He likes to sell to rich customers.
Yep.
Who doesn't? Yep.
And so this is what it's called a card linked installment. The one where the credit card, the pre-authorization, ran by this company, SplitIt. They're based half out of Tel Aviv, which is crazy because we just launched a couple weeks ago and the Iranian missiles were coming through. They blew up right next to the Tel Aviv Business Center. And we were wondering why we had delays in applications getting approved for a couple days. And we look at the news, we're like, oh,
Probably that's the reason.
like, wow, I wouldn't ever think that, something like that would affect my business, but it did. But they resolved it. Apparently, there's bunkers over there in Tel Aviv.
Yep.
So
Now I was in Cyprus at that time, and you could at night see the rockets falling.
oh wow,
Non-stop. We were looking at how often they're falling. I spoke to friends. They had a nice house, and from the rooftop you could see for hours non-stop, like not one but multiple, non-stop.
Yeah. Anti-missile.
I
defense
cannot
system.
believe probably we don't see everything in the news, but it's a miracle.
It's like, what if that
it
anti-missile
exists.
defense system wasn't fucking there?
No, I don't.
Even
I think even if it was, I don't know, but I'm not a war guy. But
Well, so they sent, what was it, like 1 or 2% of the total missiles that were sent actually landed,
yeah,
and exploded. So they had to send a ton.
I
just
believe
to-
that because
Saturation,
I
just
believe
like
that
Saturn.
because what I saw is there would be no Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
In like 2 days, if all of them hit, based
Right.
on what I think, like what I saw. So
Right. So back to merchant processing.
jump to Epstein files again.
The Epstein file. I mean, there's people in fucking VC world that are involved with Epstein files, probably that have invested into Whop. So that's like, I don't know.
Will
Okay.
the files come out? That's the question.
If the files come out, Whop might be screwed. I think 30% of the S&P might be screwed.
Do you think people would care?
I think it would switch up who people.
Because
For
people
certain
know.
products, they would.
People know already. Come on. And I think it's more like corruption. All this shit is going on.
Mhm.
What are you gonna do?
So how I've simplified in my mind is that, like, if I was to be completely on Trump's side, okay,
Yeah.
because I'm usually, I like the guy. I think that, look, even if he's on the list, he didn't do nearly as bad at other shit as like some people. There's a spectrum of severity,
Mhm.
okay,
Okay. Yeah.
but maybe he never actually touched kids. He never even did that.
Look,
He
out
just
of
hung out with
10,000 people there who visited the island in the last 20 years,
Mhm.
probably most of them didn't do shit. They just visited, probably networked. Like,
Yep.
for example, like just shake hands and they leave, but they're on the list.
Yep.
But then there were probably some, and a lot of them that were messed up. And
right. And those few that are those some that are messed up, it's highly probable that it still uses blackmail to get certain policies pushed through.
For sure.
And so he's just, chilling and trying to get
Yeah.
some policies through
Yeah,
before
for
they
sure.
completely release it. You can't have a podcast in 2025 without talking about the fucking Epstein list.
I thought we were
What are we
joking.
going to talk
but-
about next?
And that's a
Coldplay?
topic we don't know shit about.
Yeah,
It's me.
it's like-
I know
Yeah,
shit. I
speculation
Just
of
like the Nelk boys.
I just hear
the Nelk
because-
boys had Netanyahu on, and
Yeah,
they're
probably
like,
they don't even
and
know, like,
Before
what
the
they're
podcast,
doing.
like, we shouldn't be doing this. We're like the most unqualified people.
and they
to have
probably
on.
they're like, okay, but it's good for publicity.
Yeah.
And it's like us knowing what's going on in the neighborhood of Europe, and then like we still cannot care because we're so busy with our
Yeah,
things.
of course.
And now this is America. This is a completely different story. And most people who learn about those things, what are they gonna do? Like, you gotta spend time on something that even if you knew who was in that file, you will still not do anything. And then what? What's the point?
I mean, it might affect like
What are you
share
gonna
price. Well, for you, the
Are you gonna
trading,
stop using Google or what? Like, it's gonna do shit. Like, for sure. Like, there are so many companies that you couldn't stop using their products.
Yeah. But maybe you could trade on that information.
Oh, maybe, but that's a good point.
Using TradeLocker.
Using TradeLocker, which is
TradeLocker.com.
Okay, and so what were we talking about before this?
I think this moves into the broader conversation of payment processing, and especially in the info and coaching space. And people think they got to choose between Whop and fan bases. I'll tell you from an insider. I am an insider. Did I mention I was an insider? I know information. I know things. Okay, about merchant processing. No, I'm involved in a lot of conversations of people trying to decide which one they're going to go with. And there's all these terms that are thrown around to convince a business owner, hey, bring your business here. You should really, like as a general rule, even though I am biased towards Whop, you should have merchant accounts with as many providers as you can. And you should try to like pit them against each other, if anything. And if you have a healthy record of like dispute rate is like what percentage of people charge back against your ass. And usually it's in the last 3 months that they care about.
Yep.
Okay. And especially if you want to qualify for some of the financial products. So you have this dispute rate thing. And if you can keep that under 2%, you could probably negotiate a pretty sweet deal with either Fanbasis or Whop. If you're doing over $500,000 a month, you could probably get the rate below Stripe, like below the 2.9%. And it's not just processing rate that you should be concerned about. It's like the authorization. You know about like authorization rates? And okay. So these, like Whop has a pretty good American Express authorization rate. And so if a company is using a lot of American Express cards, it may make sense for them to go with Whop because it's like going to increase the revenue, especially if a sales team is not even going to be involved with the transaction and you're relying on the customer to, via a webinar, attempt to make the purchase. Because if it doesn't go through, then the person might just give up and like,
it's friction. It's friction in the funnel.
Too much. Yeah. And then you have the authorization rate, you got the processing, but you also have chargeback protection. If you're running high volume of like low ticket, think of $100, $200 or even $50 like products. There's this thing called Charge Blast, which is you can get it standalone, but it's already integrated within Whop. That's like the provider to catch chargebacks before they happen. Instead of like if you were to charge back most merchant processors, it would be the merchant processor would probably be screwed and it would be a ding on their record. But the Charge Blast kind of captures that and you're able to resolve it before then and also auto refund too. So instead of you trying to like handle this whole like dispute resolutions, if the say it's like a $5 product and somebody's trying to buy and then they charge back, like that's a chargeback on your record, that really sucks. It's only $5. But if you could auto refund that, not have a chargeback, not even worry about it, I mean, that can help a business big time. So you got to look for that technology.
And we were talking about this off camera, how like the idea and the business advice you're giving is like very sane and kind of feels to me kind of feels logical. But we were talking about like the story of like a restaurant owner having multiple vendors for like tomatoes and how that is a logical, smart idea. And how that's sort of like, this is like business 101 you're talking about is like, if you run an operation that's sufficiently enough high volume and you're not hedging on your core vendors, you're not hedging on your core infrastructure, you're not hedging on your, most important things in the business that God forbid someone pulled the plug. Like what is the risk analysis on your business, right? So the stuff you're teaching is really, I'd say business 101, but it's so funny, especially in this sort of new economy, how many people just lack that sort of like, well, that's sort of like, you could ask a guy running a corner store and he would probably tell you, well, like, of course you got three guys that are all selling you tomatoes. But like some of these guys that are doing $500,000, 700,000 a month, they're not even processing that like, oh yeah, someone can just pull the plug and all of a sudden overnight my business, 50% of my business or 80% of my business, God forbid 100% of my business just kind of crashes, right? So I love that it kind of, it's an age old, like I think you could probably read business books that are centuries old and you could find lessons like this, but just most of the people that are now running operations, because it all happens so quickly, don't even have that skill set to understand.
I want to say why this is important to know. Because I live in Malta and Malta is full of payment processors and you get pitched all the time. And especially because I'm in industries where this is a very big problem. And usually what business owners do is they get pitched and then they see 10 different payment provider names, brand names, and they pick one. And they don't pick it if somebody recommends them a payment processor. Usually they just ask, hey, Blake, do you know someone? And that's who they work with. You don't go and Google it. You ask people, what do you recommend? That's usually how people pick a payment processor. But they don't ask whatever the reserves, the fee.
Yeah, and talk about
how
the
long
reserves,
you're gonna hold the reserves, and blah, and so on and so forth. And then
how quick you'll get paid out.
Yeah, and then you are a small business and you think, oh, who cares? It's like,
I'll just go with the one that has the smallest rate.
or the first one. Let's just start. That's fine when you start. First of all, but it's very difficult to change the payment provider. And then if you have high volumes and you look at the P&L of a business like a brokerage or somewhere a lot of money is turning cash flow, like our casino, the P&L looks completely different than a normal regular business. And like literally 1% in difference between 3 and 4% in the payment processor is like changing your profit margins by like literally 10, 20% in the end, or could change that. And then you start noticing, oh fuck, I'm losing money on every step of the way of my sales process. And that's why it's important to know all of these things and go into the depth of technicals, how it works, the offer, what is the difference, things like
but
that.
I mean, people do strategies like this across their entire company, right? So like, ideally, when you got a team, like you don't want to have, you have a great chief of staff who's running everything. Like that person gets sick. What happens in your business then? Like you need to have redundancy, right? You need to have, and we talk about this concept offline, is like at some point you have to scale to be stable. Like you have to scale enough and get to a big enough of a volume where like you just have enough resources, enough momentum where you have redundancy, where you don't have, e-com or whatever. It's like people don't have one ad account. People have multiple ad accounts.
Yeah, e-com is a good example.
Right, because like they can't have their ad account be shut down. All of a sudden their entire business.
Even simpler, selling this t-shirt, you won't have exactly 100. You'll get 1,000 and then if you sell all of them, great. But you always have to have kind of more than, redundancy.
Like with AI agents, people having an agent for each position in the company. If something happens to the real person, that agent's pretty like helps with that. With the retraining of a new person or
one funny situation happened, I think probably about a month ago, the entire Google Cloud ecosystem just farted overnight. And pretty much most of the web services, so Spotify was down, Stripe was down, Supabase was down, and all of a sudden we started getting complaints from our clients like, "Hey, things are down." We're like, our service desk is running around trying to figure out what's wrong. Is it us? And then we noticed. So not only the major services, the Gmails, the Spotifys, everything was down, but then all the backend stuff like OpenAI was down, Claude was down. A lot of these workflows that were happening, like everything just stopped for like a period of 3-4 hours. And we just noticed getting people that are so reliant on these systems, they have zero redundancy. One of the shifts that I'm seeing is people are starting to move away from cloud. There was a transition. Everyone had everything on-prem, their own servers. Everyone had their own servers. And then the whole cloud transition happens. Like you don't need to own servers. Like you can pay Google, right, to host your email. Now more and more we're seeing, and I'm seeing this in the AI space, is like people developing like open source models and people starting to want to host their own stuff on premise, right? Because they get, redundancy, and that's like, hey, this is ours.
It's
like
actually more practical now. During high school, I took cybersecurity network systems infrastructure. So we were like setting up servers and doing all that. But like now the hardware that you need to have like a physical server is cheaper. It's in smaller package. So you don't need like an actual big rack.
A server room like this. That's cool. Yeah,
it's all just there.
So I think the next strength, sorry to interrupt you, Luke. I think the next strength that I think we're going to see, we're now in this phase of AI where everyone's like, hey, what's the next newest, brightest model? What subscription am I getting, et cetera? And especially in enterprise, especially in organizations that cannot afford, like even you go to legal firms, like legal firms don't want to have their data exposed in some random model that can, have a data breach, whatever. So I'm seeing this trend of more and more people pulling their infrastructure, wanting to own their own models, looking for open source models, hosting them internally. And I'm curious how to see how that will transpire in like the trading industry. And it's like, will people find a way how they can own a piece of the infrastructure and not be reliant on whatever the large companies are? I
think it's not just trading, but any industry. Business, anybody who owns the data, that's their IP, and they'll have their own LLM. So it's trading, but also medicine centers, like you said, and hospitals, law offices, things like that. And I think why people are moving to hardware as well is now seeing a giant company who was dominating before AI crashing down to zero seems possible. Before that, it seemed impossible. Now it seems like it could happen.
And one of the things that people are not realizing as they're switching more and more of their day-to-day operation, their workflow to a specific vendor, that vendor, if you're completely reliant on them, has you in their grips.
Yeah.
Like they change a payment, like one big coding agent, probably the market leader, recently like revamped their pricing overnight without notifying anyone. All of a sudden people start getting bills and people are like, well, I have my 200-person team running on this. Why are you guys like overnight without notice changing my entire thing? And that, creates a huge draft in your margins, right? Because all of a sudden you can have a vendor go overnight, like we're 30% more expensive.
Yep.
What are you going to do? And you set up your entire business model, your entire margin on a specific
vendor. And you build
vendor.
on top of this.
You built your entire company is built on top of this. So there's like me being like the tech guy, the AI guy, I'm always like very much for that. But the reality is like, if you're not going to own that, you run a real risk at a significantly large organization that, someone has all the terms in their favor and they have all the leverage in that relationship.
And that's like, this is the pricing. Like what if pricing changes, but what if the whole technology changes?
Right.
And this is when we were working on Trade Locker and you were helping us in our company, in our business. I was looking at all the businesses that we have and what could we do to actually implement those tools?
Yep.
And every time I start thinking about it, I start doing something about AI.
Yep.
And then I realize, but what's the point? Like it's at the moment so complex that even if I automate with AI, there'll be some solution much better and I will have to redo it again because it moves so quickly that at this point for us, it's not even worth doing most of the things. That's why what I like what you do is you say, don't use AI. It doesn't make sense. Like look at all the things, look at the biggest opportunities, what actually makes you money and change that and not necessarily with AI. It's
business fundamentals. It's like what drives enough volume and that becomes the thing that's relevant enough to actually look into potentially changing. Most stuff, and this is very popular now on Twitter, if you go, it's like everyone's shilling N8N templates. Like how can I create?
So annoying.
How can I create the biggest, brightest?
How many times you've seen that in the last 10 years or whatever?
Hey, replace your 200,000 a year.
Hey, look at ClickFunnels. Go high level. Build with.
Yeah,
whatever.
it looks like a kid who just got off from JV track practice and recorded a video. Saying,
all of these trends, like where everybody goes crazy, changes everything that we're doing, moves to the new thing, starts being consultant. Looking for what are they gonna do, and now AI is hot, and then they go N8N templates when whatever already they are replaced by agents. Like ChatGPT just got an agent. It can with this Supabase and whatever all these tools that you do, it can replace.
The reality is like it's first principles back again. It's like people had the idea when like Canva came out. Everyone thought like, oh, graphic design as a job is done. Like goodbye. Canva just came. Not the case. Like there's going to be a portion of the market that uses Canva, definitely popularized. Like now every single business has a social media profile and graphics and banners. But like the top echelon of the companies, well, they still use graphic designers.
How many people want to become graphic designers because of Canva and they couldn't before?
And you had this multiple times before, right?
Yeah.
And in various different industries, like when like the WordPress builder, like the Wix and like the simple drag and drop builders came through for your websites. Everyone's like, oh, web design as a service over, right? Not the case. Like there's going to be a portion of the market that expands it. All of a sudden, everyone has a website, but still the top tier of the market is going to go for someone that actually knows. I think the same thing's happening with AI and these.
I think learning about this is very useful. So you can at the same time sell N8N and things like that. I think we all used to do that. Like when you're going into a new tool, you're thinking it's hot and everything, you learn about it. But then just everybody will do it anyways. And if it's not something you stick with, and it's
a commodity, you become a commodity, and that's really what if you're selling, especially in the space, if you're selling tech and that's all you're selling, like you're selling the work of like doing things.
And are you maybe a product of N8? And that's like maybe an argument. Like maybe all the people that make templates
Mm-hmm.
will create so many templates, then N8N will just solve that instead of you having to get a template. Is that possible? I didn't
think
use it much.
I personally love to see it because I think at mass they're educating the market with the potentials. Even if they're selling the dream and like, hey, just take this template and all of a sudden your business, you'll replace your $200,000 a year SDR. Even if they just sell that dream, the fact that people are getting educated, I look at as a net positive for my market.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, cool. I think only like 4% of SMEs in the States are actively looking at AI implementation. So like, if that number goes up, like that number goes from 4 to 8, my market just double. I'm the happiest man alive. Right?
I just don't like when people oversell what it is. Yeah, it's just another tool. It won't solve all the problems in the world, make you rich and print money. It's just bullshit,
Yeah. I mean, same thing happened with like Facebook Messenger chatbots.
Yeah.
And there's like ManyChat, ChatView. There's all these chatbots that people got obsessed with because it was like the biggest thing in social media. And people would sell their chatbot flows, and they would have a course. Like me, I had a course, and I was kind of like bucketed in for a good year. I was like bucketed in as being like the chatbot guy.
And you remember back then?
Because that was my lesson in Tai Lopez's thing. Was on chatbots.
The people stopped using emails, I remember, because of chatbots. They thought that's like solution for everything, new thing. And I remember people stopped automating emails because they thought it's chatbot that will solve their problems. And then there was a trend of not using email, and then actually emails actually work. They are the best.
Old school stuff. The first principles.
Yeah.
Cool. We're ready to wrap up. I think. You guys have any more topics you want to go through?
I want to ask Blake, where can people find you, learn from you, get you to help them, and what would you like to say to the world?
You can find me at 48 longitude, 49 latitude. He couldn't help himself. Yeah, at Blake Tobez on Instagram. And I got a YouTube as well. If you just Google Blake Tobez, all of my stuff, the good, the bad, the ugly, will pop up. Not much ugly though. So, but I'm the only one. So you'll find me there.
Some red suits?
I am wearing suits. I haven't touched a suit in quite a bit though. What was the other question?
And what would you like to tell the world as a message to the world,
A message to the world? Right now?
Yeah. Like right now, you're at this age, this knowledge, experience, and everything else.
After this enlightening conversation with these two gentlemen,
it could be
my intrusive thought is go to Colombia.
It could be. Listen,
that's my intrusive thought.
Why am I asking you this? Because you will watch this in a year or 5 or 10, and you will remember this moment at this age, is this life you're living right now, and this is going to disappear one day. Like this kind of, you can be everywhere.
Dang,
is the message for the world for me? Or you?
Yeah,
like you're saying it right now.
No. You say it for yourself.
Okay.
In the future, for your future you.
Okay. Don't be afraid of being faster and things being faster too around you. You can hold on. You're not going to fall off. Things can speed up. You got the chassis for it. You got the engine that you can go fast, but you also do have the chassis for it. So you're not going to fall off or drift off or anything like that. Okay? Just because the world is moving fast around you, you can move. That's what I want to say. Everything we talked about, especially with the AI, some people could feel overwhelmed, like it's too much. But if you just tap into the flow, like those turtles in Finding Nemo, how they just went into the jet stream, you can do it. Encouragement. But it's actually a thing. You can, if you're surrounded by people who are going fast all the time, like at the Whop headquarters, or just like any startup environment, you will attune yourself and kind of like get up to speed, and the pace will increase for you. It could just feel a little scary at first, but you can go faster.
When you will be 30, 40, have kids, wife, family, things like that, you'll have like 10 times more experience and look back and remember yourself at this age, what like tell yourself, what do you like about your life right now? What do you love about your life right now? Because I'm imagining like Blake at 40 looking at it and saying like, fuck, that was nice. That's true. I miss that thing.
I love that I have no fears to talk to anybody at all. Not dependent on financial status, how good they look, or how famous they are. I don't have any fears. There was fears and anxiety, but I don't feel it. I don't feel it anymore. And it feels quite nice. And, maybe that's just like the natural state of things when you're not aware of all these status games, when you're just naturally curious. And so I hope that I'm even more curious by that date. I don't take the status games too seriously.
Amazing.
There we go. That's the podcast.
Blake. Nice.
Thanks so much for hopping on. That's the podcast. And so Blake at Blake Toves on Instagram, Luka Knezic at Luka Knezic on Instagram, Tony Double H at Tony Double H on Instagram. That's the way to find us. That's been the podcast, guys.